local guys don't like it also, or weren't real happy with us doing it, is because not only were we not charging people, which is doesn't make them look good, but also they have fundraisers, so we're eating into their fundraiser as they see it, and they're that's not what they they're really not interested in supporting something that's really not doing it. You got to remember, this thing has really evolved. The whole thing we're involved in here, youth soccer, is really just involved in one large business and very lucrative business. So that everything we do, you have to have that in mind. And next year, if we get a sponsor, that's how we're going to have to do it. Other than that, I think the thing went off smooth as silk. From an organizational standpoint, it was fantastic. But you'd like to have 15, 20 coaches, but we're going to have to kick up. If we're going to do that, you're going to have to kick up some money to pay them. No doubt about it. But enough said. We had the first one. It kicked off, and it went off successfully. There were some things everybody thought they would tweak it, but this was 90% right from the start. It was very good. Greg and Sherry, other people that worked at it, Greg principally and Kai, really, really looked good. It was very professionally done. It was everything went off on time. It's great. So next year we'll just keep your kids, you guys out there, keep your kids associated, because they definitely, were able to show themselves. They had small-sided games and full games, so the kids got a lot of play. The kids seemed to enjoy just to play, to get out there and mix it up with, with a group of other people. So, all right, new business. The United Soccer Association grant applications. Sherry, where are they on? Are they on the site yet, or are they just for our review?
Well, it is on the site. I haven't sent out any formal notice yet because I did want you to take a look at it and get your feedback.
Yeah, I got to do that. Just so you guys know, if you haven't caught it, we changed this grant thing around a little bit. Instead of having $500, which we found that, or felt that, 20 years ago when you gave a kid $500, apparently it was worth something. Now we even get it to a point where the kids don't even pick the checks up. So we felt like we'd make it more impactful. I think we voted for 225s and 2000s. Is that what it was, Greg? Or 1250?
22500s and 2000s.
All right. Now, do we ever determine if they're going to be two males and 2 females, or just 4 people? Do you know?
I'm sorry?
Did we ever determine is it going to be 2 males, 2 females, or is it going to be 4 people, 4 players regardless?
I don't think we. I don't think you guys decided that.
All right. Well, this week we should get it around on an email and just see what people think. It seems like in the past we've had more females actually apply than males.
Yes.
By a long shot.
Last year we had 5 or 6 males.
Yeah.
And had 18 or so females.
Yeah. So for me, I mean, I really don't care if it is males or females. I don't think we have to make it. Personally, I don't think you have to split it in half. I think the best 4 people get the money. But we're thinking with $2,500, it'll be worth it for a kid now. It'll be a little more impactful for them. It'll help a little more. It's a grant, so it's not, it's not applied to anything. We just give it to them. We just make sure they're matriculating in a college before we do it, and that's it. And it's mostly based on we took out a lot of the I don't know. We had 9 or 10 things in there the kids are doing. We try to make it, simplify it, and really make it a service award. This isn't academic at all. It really has to do with how long they've been in our league, the support for the league, from the kids, and their service record in soccer and then in the community. And hopefully we'll suss that out and we'll have some good results. We're really not, there's plenty of things around for guys that are.
Is it under the home tab, Sherry?
No, go to About USA. Yep, right there. And then USA gives back, and then the third line item down. Yep. Well, yeah, that.
Yeah, let me get here.
Yep.
I get there and I go to click on it and it won't.
You have to go over and then down.
It won't even let me go.
I don't know.
Look at this.
It should.
Okay, there we go.
Yep, right there.
All right.
Click.
Got a wild mouse. Okay.
There you go. But like I said, if there's anything you want me to add, I know, Greg, I did see your email about adding the player pass number, which I can do. I just haven't had a chance to put it in.
Paul, the reason I asked her about that was because I must have gotten 36 applications for the showcase that didn't have pass numbers, and we found out that they were ECNL players and all these other players. Yeah. They were USA players, so it helps the easier.
Yes, yeah. Although before we give any money, we'll get that and make sure that we checked out their history.
This looks real nice, Sherry.
Could you post a little information regarding the grant itself, or what you look for, so that if we go ahead and forward this to our players, they have that information?
Yes, I actually will send a mass email out, and then I don't know if Kai's on or not, but I assume he'll want to do something as well through Facebook, and I would include the history and then what we're looking for.
Okay, perfect.
A little bit preliminary, but I mean, technically it's a live application if someone wanted to fill it out, but I do intend this week to send out instructions and everything.
But you see, we've simplified it greatly and really concentrated on USA Kids and soccer service and service to the community. I mean, these are service awards basically, and
that's excellent.
I'm not too worried. I'd even take the GPA out of there, Sherry. I think.
I'm sorry.
I mean, for me, you can take the GPA out of there. We don't care what it is.
Oh, take it out? Okay.
Yeah, it's not going to be relevant.
I'm pulling off some notes from the last meeting. Yeah, I can remove GPA, not a problem. So remove GPA, add in player pass.
Yeah.
And what about a deadline? We usually have the deadline March 15th, but do you want to go a little longer?
I think it's a little longer. It shouldn't be long. Greg, how long does it take once you have them all?
The showcase? Oh, how long did it take to
No, I'm talking about this thing. The Joe Judge. You can rank them fairly quickly and take a look at
it. It takes about a week and a half.
Right. Cool.
Providing we don't have.
What do you think? You go till April. This is not something they need. I mean, in other words, this isn't a time. There's no time requirement. If the kid gets some money on April 15th or May 1st, they're happy. This is a grant. It's not an acceptance to somewhere. So if he knows he gets a grant, we always try to announce it at some event. We were at the Rowdies games, but that's just not going to happen.
Well, last year we're fine.
Yeah, you had a dinner, right, or something?
It was a lunch. Yeah, it was a lunch and a brunch.
Yeah. Cool.
Everybody showed up.
Yeah, so I would say, Sherry, I'd go into April. I'd have no problem going into April. All right? What do you think?
Meaning April 1st or April 30th?
No, April.
Well, April 30th. What's the difference?
Well, by the time we get through everything, you're looking at May.
Yeah,
you have to have the kids around to present them. You have to mail everything out.
So maybe April 15th? You want to do that?
15th.
That'll work.
That gives them 2 months to.
Yeah, it gives them plenty of time to us 2 weeks. I mean, it's not going to take 2 weeks to sort through it.
No, it shouldn't.
Let them know though on the application that they won't hear back. If you do it on the 15th, they will not hear back until the 1st of May.
Okay.
I must have gotten 50 to 60 emails.
Right.
Am I accepted? Am I accepted? Am I accepted?
Right.
To the showcase.
So deadline April 15th, and then we'll follow up by May 1st.
Right.
Okay, got it.
All right. Next, we good with that? For the good of the game, anything? We still don't have a quorum, so we're gonna have to leave the minutes until we get a quorum. Next meeting, officially.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll adjourn this meeting. Merritt, you want to do the honors?
What, do you want a motion to adjourn
I
the
want a
meeting?
motion.
Yeah, we got a motion. We'll adjourn the meeting.
You know, anybody want to second that motion?
Second that in motion.
Jessica?
Yep.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Let's get to the next. Let's get to the executive committee. Again, we can't approve the minutes. Protest and appeals, we don't have any. Is that correct?
Well, probably not.
That's what I got here. Old business. What's the hearing? What is the hearing about, Greg? Or Sherry, what's that hearing?
Where's that?
There shouldn't be anything there, I don't think. I can't see the agenda.
That's the protest and appeals, none. B, hearing. C, old business.
I
Right,
think
that's just the format that we always use.
Oh, okay.
Case. There's a
All right,
hearing. to report on.
Jessica has found a location for the college seminar, but this week we've got to tighten that up with Renee. Jessica, I will give you Renee's email address. It's like RL Academy. Her and Greg will be the two people that be able to tell you what it is, and she will too, what she needs as far as electronics at that place. And we just want to make sure. And then she's given me some dates back that, she said, well, how about this or that? But I think we need to check this out first, because we don't want her showing up and not having what she needs, because that's not going to make anybody happy.
Right.
So
Okay, no problem.
We'll tighten that down this week with her. And like I said, Greg, you
Right.
did the last one. So whatever it was that you did with her computer, what was it? Some kind of
it was an interface with the sound. The
I
sound
thought
board.
she had that. Or no, it was the guy that was there.
Yeah, it was a USB to some kind of connection that she plugged into the.
All right. So she's got to tell us. We've got to make sure she's got that.
Right.
Sean Piglio, I think we're this month we'll go ahead with that, and we'll start taking a look at what we want to do. I think we determined that last meeting. Yes. We'll see what he's got. He's talking about doing some surveys to start to define what we need, or what our customer or our members need, and then start to defining some kind of marketing plan for us. We'll just take one step at a time as far as the money it costs to do that. We still have a fund backup that we can utilize, and we might have it right in the budget. We might be able to make it this year. But I think everybody's, we're all struggling to find some repositioning of USA to try and help all the clubs to maintain their fields and maintain their playing things. And again, without USA, there will be 3 clubs in the area, and that will be the end of it. You'll have 3 businesses, and they'll have all the fields. USA is the one thing that everybody utilizes to provide the playing experience for their members. And as we well know, all of the marketing and merchandising that's done for these kids. I just had an interesting, I don't know if anybody, did you guys really take a look at that thing Kai put out? There were the soccer businesses in the area, right? So they had something like 21 teams. I don't know, they had 40-something teams go into the 11s, 12s in the area, and they 21 of their teams didn't make the second round. So the thought that there are 200-something kids in these businesses that are being told that they're going to go on a national team and stuff is horrific. And there are customers, there are members' kids. And there's a lot of children that play soccer that are not going to play in the Bundesliga, but deserve the best, the most well-organized, and the most the best experience they can get playing soccer. That's what we provide. So, and I think Sean is going to help us, I think, try and define that and craft a meaningful way to bring that across to our members, so our members can use that also. And I'll start that talk with them this week. I will. Proposal U13 select team for England in July. What's that?
That Mike's still.
Is that
Mike's still at a dinner party or whatever.
Oh.
That and the one below it, Nottingham and Lowry Dudfield are putting together a program. Mike took his boys last year there to Nottingham for 2 weeks, and what they're suggesting is that Lowry, Alan Smith, and Mickey Adams, and that they'll come over and do a coaching and player.
Let me ask you something. Greg, how would you envision USA being involved in that? In what way would we be involved?
Well, we would make it available to the clubs or teams. If there's a
and if they didn't participate, what happens?
If nobody wants to participate, nobody wants to participate.
Okay. So we'll have some sort of a way to gather that and say, look, if you guys want this,
right?
Because it's going to cost somebody, right? It's going to cost the kids that participate. Am I correct in assuming?
Well, yeah, the 13s. If we open this up to USA,
yeah,
and put a mass email out there that we're putting a team together to go to England for 2 weeks to Nottingham.
All right.
Okay. Yes, it's going to cost about $2,900.
Okay.
It's probably the best 2 weeks you're ever going to see.
But I'm saying that's our involvement is promoting it, correct?
Is promoting it, correct? I mean, unless there's some kind of
right.
We can find money someplace to augment maybe $200 per kid, as whatever. But if we can do that, great. But from the trips that I've taken over and the teams that I've taken over in the past, this is by far.
Is that a good age? Is that good age for the kids?
That's the best age. Boys and girls, yes. I mean, I talked to what's his name? Lori was at the showcase. He was the one that did the.
That was a fellow we were talking to there.
He was doing the dog and pony after everything was over.
Okay.
Okay.
He was the one with that funny accent, right? That was
right. But he has boys. Right now we're looking at a boys team, but we can easily take a girls team as well. And Lori has no problem with that.
I think you support a girls team as far as play over there and everything else.
It'll be the same. They're afforded the same opportunities that the boys team is. They'll get X amount of games. They'll get X amount of lectures, seminars. They'll get to see 3 professional matches and a day off at Alton Towers.
All right. Now, how about this other one where they come here? What's our involvement in that?
I think what it is, it's a hand-in-hand thing. If we tell them, we're going to have 2 teams going over, they'll spend the money to come to Tampa and put on the dog and pony show.
And where will that be? What form will that be in?
Well, probably if I was to, I'd probably be a 2-day. If I was looking at something, it'd be a 2-day program.
Training?
Yeah, be training and as well, and you're coaching the coaches.
Coaches or players? Would it be open to all USA coaches?
Yes.
Free?
That's up to you.
Okay. Well, it's not up to me, but I mean, it's up to us.
Well, you know what I mean. Yeah, I mean, we want to make it.
So there'll be a cost. There'll be a cost to it. Am I correct in assuming that?
Well, like I said, the cost right now, I'm not sure what the cost is.
No, for them to come over. I'm saying.
Yeah, well, keep in mind, Lori and Alan have condos in Orlando, so they're over here. They're over here quite a bit.
Would you see if they have an open date from July 24th to the 1st of?
For the education program, as far as the kids going over, it's going to be the last 2 weeks of July.
Okay. When would they do this for us?
As far as them doing the stuff with us,
yeah.
Education program in June. Okay, pick a date. Pick a date in June is what I'm getting at.
All right. So you're on top of that. You and Mike and Kai
Right.
all are aware
Right.
of this and kind of are keeping an eye on it.
We've been in, right, I've been in contact with Lori and Mike as well.
All right. New business. Bill Zayas Bulls Junior Showcase. I don't know if you guys saw anything. I think we wait until the AGM and discuss it then, because that's the partnership. Is that the Bulls, USF Bulls? That you know of, Greg? I hate to keep asking you stuff, but you're
No, this guy isn't part of USF.
No, he's just been asked to do this camp or showcase, I guess. But he's not affiliated. He's actually the coach for a college down south. I can tell you in a minute which one.
But I mean, he wants us to promote what he's doing, a showcase or whatever, and I'm assuming
Correct.
the place is a profit, right?
Well, it's in direct conflict with ours.
Well, forget that for the moment. I mean, even if it wasn't, it's his private.
Johnson and Wales.
And he wants us to promote it, and he's willing to do something. How about splitting the money with us, 50-50?
Well, if you
How about
saw,
letting all our kids go for free? How's that?
did you see the rest of his credentials?
No.
Okay. This guy is part of the ID2 camp program. He's part of the ECNL select committee. He's part of the DA. He's got his hands into everything. And
Good.
quite honestly, what I see him doing is he's just going to suck kids into his program and take away from the clubs and, whatever.
Well, but we'll take a proposal at the AGM and see if we
Right.
want to, because you can't just willy-nilly, we can't be sponsoring people here and not sponsoring other people. It's not fair.
Do you want us to make contact with him to have him show up at the AGM?
No.
Okay.
We got a pretty good list from him. Sherry got something from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. I was impressed with it. I don't mean that. But it's pretty thorough. I mean, I think we see his idea. And I think the board, they can read it and say, nah, it's not interesting. Or we can make a counter proposal at that point. Mine would be we get all our kids in free for this camp, right? Any USA kid gets free, right? And we get half the proceeds. How's that? That would be good.
You got my vote.
We're promoting it. All right. But that will take on in a couple months. We're going to, as a board, we got to look at these things because we're putting, we're allowing our membership to be utilized by people, and it doesn't benefit anybody that we know of. So we need to see what kind of benefit we get out of it.
Yeah,
Not USA, I mean our members.
I didn't understand why he would put something on for the USF coach when the USF coach would want to put something on for himself.
That's why I saw the Bills Jr. I thought it was somehow,
Yeah.
he says USF. I see USF in his writing to us. All right, complaint by Kevin Mulling, roster fraud. Didn't we talk about this, Greg?
Yeah. I don't know what 2360, there's two of them there, roster frauds. The one had to do with Minnesota and the DA Academy at IMG, and that's not a concern of ours.
Right.
At least that's what you had told me. That the board doesn't see. That's a DA thing, not a USA thing.
Right. I mean, we've got enough to do to make sure our games are run legitimately. We don't need to go any further and start an investigative arm to follow some guy that says he's got a DA academy. I don't know. That's not our. It's not
Oh,
under,
I know what the other one is. I know what the other one is, Sherry. That's the one with Tampa Dynamo.
Right, correct.
With the girls.
I just didn't know I added it on there because it had come up since the last meeting, and I didn't know if you wanted to read
which one is that, Sharon? Don't tell me.
Well, we received email complaint from this coach, and I actually forwarded it to Greg because he was kind of insistent to speak to someone.
Is that Kevin Mulling we're talking about now?
Yeah, correct. And his concern was that they were using players that weren't on the roster, right, Greg?
Yeah.
And then I'm not, maybe you can take it from there because I know you spoke to him and told him pretty much, he also wanted to know, like, if it happened again, what is the process? And I think Greg explained
The center ref, first of all, right, Merritt, am I incorrect? If they're not on the roster, they don't play. Period.
Correct.
You check. They're not on the roster. They got to be printed out. They're all pre-printed, and you check their card.
Yeah. So how did that not happen, or how can players
They
enter a game without being checked?
in that game, what happened was they added the player at noon for a 6 p.m. match.
So
And he had already printed out the game card prior to that.
well, they can print out the game card, you
2
know,
minutes before the game.
before the kickoff.
Right.
I guess I don't.
I guess they didn't do that.
Okay.
They printed it out a week ahead. They printed it out a week ahead of time, and it made last minute change.
Nonetheless, the center, if he didn't see the kid on the roster, right, should not have allowed him to play.
Well, the kid knew who it was, and the coach knew who he was.
Don't
So
matter.
the coach and the kid bamboozled the referee into writing the name
Well,
out on the card.
That's the referee's problem. Our rules are the kid doesn't play if the ref isn't enforcing our rules. We got to go and find a ref and see what's going on.
Well, that's why this is in the executive board, because the question is, do you forfeit the game or not for using an illegal player?
Yeah, but so let's go back. Was he on the roster? I don't care about the printed one.
Yes.
Was he on the roster before kickoff?
Yes.
Legally by the registrar.
Yes.
Then he's legal.
So he's not illegal. The question is, why did the ref allow him to play if he didn't have a maybe
Yeah.
they convinced him, but so
He had, again, at noon, they transferred the player from one team to the other at noon.
Yeah.
The coach went and printed out a player pass, but had forgot to print the game card, which he printed a couple days prior. So he comes to the game with a game card without the player's name on it, but he's got a pass for him. And the referee says, yeah, I know the player. And he wrote the player's name on the card, which we don't allow.
Yeah, but the kid is a legitimate. I mean, he's not.
Well, that's the other question.
He's a legal player. He's legal.
And according to Got Soccer and FYSA, he's legal. According to the coach, he says that kid was like 15 and not 12.
No.
And
the coach is no expert on age. If we can demonstrate that, if he has a DNA sample, let him produce it. But I mean, if the kid's name is on the thing and his picture's on there and he's legal and he's on the roster, how are we going to figure out anything? Right?
Right.
That's not. I mean, that's between us and the ref.
Okay, well, let's go back.
Greg, can I ask how? So how did they know? They had the game card. Kid's not on the game card. Did they have the roster?
The referee knew the kid.
He had a player pass.
He had a player pass, and the referee knew the kid in question and wrote the kid's name on the card.
Where did this?
Right, but that to me, if you're looking at it separately, I mean, how? If it wasn't that referee, if you didn't know him, it wouldn't be able to happen, right? Because the other ref wouldn't have known.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, that's where it gets confusing. I don't know.
I mean,
the kid was legal. He was legally rostered to that team. They didn't have proof They didn't have proof that he was rostered at the time that the ref. So the ref should not have allowed it. The kid's not illegal, nor is the club, nor is the team.
right. I mean, granted, we go behind the scenes.
No more, Greg, it would be no more than if the coach is in a hurry and forgot his roster. And you said, all right, we're going to let you play. We're assuming this is. If we find out something's wrong, foul. Right?
Yeah. Well,
he forgot the kids, the update on the roster.
but we told the referees in all our classes that.
Yeah, but it's between you and the ref. I mean, we just have
Right.
refs that aren't doing their job. It's got nothing to do with a fraud.
Well, what you want to do is answer the question. And the question is, they're saying the coach is the coach is saying the player is an illegal player. Well, no, because you can prove it in Got Soccer when he was registered, when he was put onto that roster. Now, if the coach has an issue with him about his age, now that's a different thing, and then he has to come up with other information. But you know, these guys print them out, you know, a week or at the beginning of the season, and that's an administration function that is kind of, we try to hold the referees, but are you going to tell a kid he just drove 2.5 hours he can't play, and the coach has a legal pass in there? I got some of the, because I actually, you can look at the timestamp when they print it.
Right.
I looked at one today, and he printed it. I had a 2 o'clock game. He printed it 11:23. So.
Also, our kids have to be verified also for age. I mean, if the child is verified, then that's as far as we can prove his age, correct?
I guess that's the other question: is how did they verify the age? And the
registrar's got to do all that.
It was Dusty's idea to cut down.
Yeah, but don't they do it on Got Soccer too?
Oh, no.
No, they have to provide.
Greg, you're the one that wrote.
Right, I just remember.
So we can't read all of them.
That's right. They only check every couple hundred.
Yeah.
No, that's right. They only check 1 in 100.
We're getting background from somebody.
All right. Well, that one's
too. Somebody could have pulled up a game card. They could have gone to Got Soccer on their cell phone and pulled it.
After we told them they couldn't have a blow board because YouTube seemed to buy them a blow board.
Hey, can we get somebody to mute, please?
Steve. Tell Steve he's got he's got a fight going on in the back room in his place.
So anyway, you could actually pull it up on your cell phone and look, and the coach really had an issue with it.
But look, we're doing that one. I mean, that's got nothing to do with us. He's got all the stuff we have in place. That's all we can do.
Yeah.
We're not Sherlock Holmes here. How about Bill Mack? Is that a different roster fraud?
We just went over that.
Okay. Who was Kevin Mulling?
That's what we just talked about.
That's what we talked about.
So Kevin Mulling and Bill Mack are the same roster frauds.
Same scenario.
What was the DA Academy playing at Minnesota?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Merrick, just so you know, this was the first one that washed out, that came out correctly in the 5 that I think that we've done in the past year and a half. Any other person that's been written in on the roster has been proven to be an ineligible player.
Okay.
This was the very first one where we looked at it, saw the timestamp, and said, yes, they're eligible.
Okay, well.
That's 1 out of 5.
All right, well, good. So we're getting the word out.
Right, I guess.
Well, on this right here, in our club, we have found, and this might not be the situation, is a kid comes in and he registers. He basically shows a birth certificate. From there, you look at it. Now, what happens is then another coach or another parent realizes, oh, that's, and I'll just make up a name, Juan, for whatever,
Sure.
or Justin or whatever.
Sure.
They're going, no, that's so-and-so. I know him. But no, by his player card and by what he's been verified, no, it shows that he's this. Well, I can tell you right now, parent or whoever, they're arguing, no, I know their parents, I know them. That's not him. Not knowing if this is the situation, but I know we have found this out where in our club.
Marcus, in fact, we saw people doing the same thing at Plant City, and Braden Weber said was somebody. Remember the kid was, but the problem we have is once they register with FYSA and are verified, that's the primary evidence we have. If I come over to your club and take a look and say that's not Esteban, that's Juan, that ain't as strong as FYSA. Now we know that you can do that fraudulently. It's difficult to do en masse fraudulently. You may get a kid by every now and then, but you can check. We can go back to individuals, check with FYSA, and they'll maybe check the birth certificate. But you've got to produce one. That's the problem. You're really in a system where the state organization is the verifying body, and they're not necessarily really vetting the birth certificate. Plus, think about it. You get a birth certificate in a picture. We used to have pictures. My kid had a picture where he was like 7 years old and he was playing under 12. So, I mean, some of the pictures we used to have on the back of the things, nobody changed them. Everything got the same picture. You keep putting them on till it's ridiculous. So that
Right.
trying to match up a kid with a birth certificate without DNA samples is really hard. You try to push them out. In other words, to put some sunshine out like this, and then see if you can run down and do it. But there's no doubt about it that some of these guys are going to get away with some of that fraud. Oh, we've caught a bunch though. Because somebody says something, sooner or later we're going to look.
Well, they caught him in Little League Baseball. So
Yeah. Well, we caught a couple. We've caught 2 or 3 already. Am I correct in assuming that the one given the different names?
Yep. Oh yeah.
We had a kid playing years ago with one of the
timestamps are good.
So, but this thing is not. You can't stop time and go back to the field and say don't let them play.
They can play it under protest, and
that's
and if it turns out the timestamp's not proven, then it's a forfeit.
Correct.
That's one of the things that I think we have to be a little more diligent on, is when somebody sends an email and they question something, the answer back to them should be file a protest.
Correct. Yeah. Instead of us even talking about it.
Exactly.
So they put up some money.
Because you notice we get a bunch of these here that we talk about, but nobody's ever protested them.
Yeah, you're right, but we got to get them to do that because we'll be. I mean, all day.
That's called Greg and Sherry putting it on the agenda.
All right. But we're done with, the roster fraud, we know right now it's 98% done. If we learn something subsequently, we'll bring it back. 829, forfeit, determine amount of fine. What's that one?
Okay, I will explain. Hold on. And most of these are like this similar situations, so we can get through them kind of quick. I jotted some notes down here.
Sure.
So this one was a late reschedule request a few days before the game. Right. I denied it because of, ref assigner could not agree. The day of the game, the away team called the home team and said they weren't coming, but did not tell us. And therefore the ref showed up. So I'm assuming it's going to be your $350.
Straight forfeit, yeah.
Yep. Okay. Just,
You see it any other way?
No.
That's Plant City and St. Pete Raiders.
All right.
Plant City didn't show.
All right.
Correct.
All right.
Okay.
980.
980, same thing. This is an FC Tampa. This was the one, a lot of emails went back and forth. This was the weekend before Gasparilla, I believe, and received a request like on Wednesday night. Jim Bars could not agree due to everything that was going on that weekend. But at the end of the day, the teams, we had gotten a couple of emails saying, well, we're going to reschedule it anyway, and then just determine if we're only charging them to cover the refs, or are we not allowing them to replay the game? But I'd
let them replay the game, but we need to charge them for sure. At least for the center. Yeah.
Just for the refs?
Well, not refs. I don't know. The club doesn't get reimbursed the ARs, right?
No, we reimburse the ARs if it's a true forfeit.
We do.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
But this isn't really a forfeit because we said they could reschedule it.
No, but reschedule too close to the time. If we've already sent the ref, in fact, what do we say? 2 days? Is that the rule now?
The rule's 2 days. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's closer than 2 days, Sherry. We charge them for the center anyway?
I think personally, I think you probably should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't. 2 days doesn't make any sense to me. To me, if a referee takes an assignment a week before, he is blocking himself out for doing anything else.
Right.
But the board, we voted 2 days. I'm happy. I'm not arguing it. I just think we have to be more circumspect about a referee's time. If he's going somewhere, if he's blocked the time off,
Right.
we should pay him. But that is not what the board feels, so I'm fine with that. So in this case, do we charge him $100 for the ref?
Who is this, by the way? I don't have that game card out there.
An FC Tampa team somewhere. I don't know.
It's FC Tampa.
Is this the 19s?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Now, we already agreed. I mean, we already told the coach, if you do this, we're going to have to pay for the refs. I told the president, I told Coco, so.
Yeah.
They're good.
FC Tampa Strikers versus FC Tampa Lady Rangers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's $100. I'll send it to you or somebody or the other guy will send it. I'm not sure.
All right, so $100 and then allow the reschedule, which it's already been moved.
Yeah, okay, 6/4/59.
This was again same thing. That late request. I denied it, but apparently both teams didn't get the message or read the chat that it was denied, so they didn't show up for the game. But of course, the refs were there. So it was an unapproved reschedule request, and they ignored that, didn't show. So is it a forfeit for both?
How would you? Yeah, you can't forfeit both of them. You can't have two teams that lose in the same match. I don't think.
Right. So, or is it the same thing? Allow the reschedule, but they pay the refs.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I'm gonna say same as 980.
Right.
Okay. So what is this? Both teams pay 100?
Sure.
That's Charlotte.
There's got to be some cost to it.
Yeah, they both owe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
It's not just to cover the refs either, Sherry. There's a punitive part of that fine.
Yeah.
Right.
That's.
They're going out doing their own thing. We got to know.
Yeah, it's penalizing them for not following the rules.
And we want to cover the rest, but I mean, there's a punitive part of that, so that's good. How about 2681?
So that's 100 each.
Yeah, 100 each.
Yes, 100 each.
Okay.
2681. They did follow the correct procedure, and they did file a forfeit form the day before the game. This was for a U8 game, and they paid the $250 fine. And then Greg and I were I sent it to him. I'm like, okay, go ahead and reimburse everybody. And then
there's no way of finding out.
His question was, well, wait, they're not USA assigned referees.
Correct.
Should we reimburse them? But we did collect the $250. So that was just an interesting scenario that we wanted to confirm.
That'd be true for 8s, 9s, and 10s, actually, correct?
Yeah,
right.
Right. There's another one that we don't have where Braden River didn't show up at PCU for the U8s as well.
Right.
We still got another one out there.
I don't think they paid the fine. But these people did pay the fine. So we weren't sure what to do with the fine.
Braden River paid the fine?
No, they did not. But this team did.
I'd say if the club gets in touch with us and asks us for a reimbursement and can identify it, I'd pay them.
Okay.
It's $30, $40.
25. It's 25.
But they gotta at least let us know. We can't assume spend the money somewhere and we'll figure out that's all right.
Yeah.
At least somehow.
Hey, Greg or Sherry, what Plant City team was that? I haven't heard of this, so I'm curious.
Give me 1 second. Oh, well, you're talking about the one Greg was referencing?
829.
Yeah. You just looked that up in the.
Okay, hold on.
Go pull the.
I gotta go pull it up again.
Age group. Just get her an age
I was
group.
trying to find out in between, but.
All right, it's Plant City 99 boys premier against St. Pete Raider 99 boys.
Okay. Gotcha. All right, I'm on that. I'm kind of not happy about that.
I wouldn't be either.
7-9.
Not cool.
Yeah, but it happens. I mean, now we straighten them up.
Now I have a talk with the coach and let him know that doesn't happen again.
Yeah. No. It costs the club money, and that's crazy. What's 792?
Okay, 792 was a game report that we received where there was a couple of players red carded. That's been taken care of. But the issue was, if you read the incident
Is this
section,
the Tarpon Springs game, the Braden River and Tarpon Springs?
No, this is Plant City and Venice.
Okay.
Plant City and Venice, U19 boys played on January 27th.
Of course.
And basically, parents got into a scuffle, and then the goalkeeper came out of the game and got involved, and then all the players got involved. But, you know, basically my question was, okay, we've taken care of the players.
Right.
Do we need to send a notice or something to Plant City just to say, hey, keep control of your parents?
Well, yeah, just ask them, you know, remind them that the field marshal should be there. Although when you read that thing, this happened down at the one end of the field that a parent was yelling at the goalie, which is insane, right? Okay. So that, like, as Greg was asking about the coaches, and you're a coach on the sideline, Greg, you know yourself, when some parents out of their mind down by the goal, you haven't got you yet.
No.
Get to them and say, listen, man, don't ever yell at anybody.
I agree. No, I agree. There's nothing you can do at that time.
To go off so fast that, you know, I mean.
And it says even that at this point, the coaches from both teams did break up the fight.
Yeah, they seem to be involved in a positive way. I mean, we can tell Plant City, look, just keep an eye on. But if, you know, it's one guy that's out of his mind. I mean, let's face it, whoever that is. And from what I understand, they know he's crazy, right? Isn't there something in there that says where the guy has had problems before or something?
Ask Jessica.
Is that same 99 Premier team?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, but it must be one parent, Jessica, because this guy was down at the goal line screaming at the other goalie, trying to get in a fight with him. We don't know.
If I knew the name, I probably know. But
we don't know.
Don't worry, I'll take care of it.
We don't even know for sure if it's a parent from Plant City or some homeless guy that walked on a field. That's the other problem with this, is we've got no identification of anybody.
Right.
And this was the weakness in the FYSA 2 years ago. They tried to put something in if a parent or a relative of somebody kid in the field started creating a fuss on the sidelines, that you could take the kid out of the game. You could send the kid off. And, of course, it didn't get anywhere because everyone said, how the hell are you going to have guys on the field? You don't know who the hell the kid is. He could have a potso uncle that shows up at the match and goes off, and they're going to penalize the kid. So in this thing, I don't see that the guy is identified as being – now, you assume that he is, of course. But the problem we have is you don't even have the people identified as being Plant City people. You would just assume because they're yelling at the ref. But the fact is, Jess, the one thing is to get at least a field marshal down there. Now, this thing, if you read it, Jessica, it went off so fast that you could see even a guy that was at the stand, let's say at the rec stand, watching everything. This thing happens. By the time he gets there, it's already over or already.
Right.
Yeah,
right. Okay. Well, I'll try to find out what I can. They know better.
Just there's somebody there. I mean, it's crazy enough to start a fight with a goalie on the other team.
Right.
And he was down that end apparently, screaming at him. I mean, at the goalie's end. So
one of the things that we did do at the coaches meeting, though, was that we made coaches aware that they are responsible to have a meeting with their parents and tell them that the team could lose a game because you got your mouth open and you're going crazy.
Sure.
I mean, the coaches got ultimate control over the team.
Yeah. But us telling them, we should do that every year and someday we'll actually get it done. It's not great, but it hasn't been horrible. But the problem again is that the coach on the sideline sometimes doesn't even know what's happening on the other end of the field. I mean, I've had problems in games, so have you, Greg, with kids that just all of a sudden, boom, and by the time you figure out that, I got to get the kid out of the game, you're running out there to put a headlock on.
I ain't running anymore.
You as a coach haven't done anything. You've conducted yourself the entire career properly and everything else, and you got a kid that just is decided that, hey, he's just not in a good mood and doesn't want to put up with any crap. And neither does his uncle, who showed up also, who's half in a bag.
Okay.
Okay. You want the next one, 3188?
How about 1858?
We talked about that one, so we're on 3188 right now.
Fantastic.
Yep, 3188 was a U10 boys game, West Florida versus Florida Hawks. West Florida just didn't show up, so I assume it's just a straight 350.
Correct.
Show up, didn't tell anybody.
Okay, West Florida, 350.
Yep. Okay, 1057. This actually just happened. They were scheduled to play yesterday. They put in a reschedule request, but again, it was like Thursday or something, and so we denied it because I never heard back from Dave Peterson, and so I had to deny it, of course. And so they didn't show up for the game yesterday, and then took it upon themselves and went ahead and rescheduled it for today, and then called the referee, or called, I'm sorry, it wasn't Dave, it was Tony Mealy, saying where are the refs. But of course, he didn't know anything about the game because as far as we all were concerned, it was to have been played yesterday.
Sure.
So the question is it, obviously it's a forfeit yesterday. Is today a forfeit too?
Well, I mean, that seems to be, we get it for one forfeit, that's enough. And
All right, so
who is it? Who is it?
It's one of my teams, actually.
Yeah, have a great week.
who is it? Which team?
Guys, let me know you got that. I'll be done about 2
You know anything about them, Mark? What's the?
Yeah, I do. Actually, I had the team manager contact me. We've got a new team manager. So apparently after she put in the request, she thought that was a done deal.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
So they actually showed up at the field, and so did the other team. They were both convinced that they were playing today. And basically they showed up, and they were surprised that the game had not been moved. So they gave me a call after they called Tony, and I explained to them that unless it is moved in God Soccer by the league, the game's still on as it is. But again, brand new team manager, she put in the request and thought that was all she needed to do.
Yeah. But I don't see the double forfeit here. There's one forfeit, right?
All right, so who owes what?
Well, whoever forfeited, who didn't show up, or not, did no one show up on Saturday?
They
No.
both showed up today. They actually just played a scrimmage today, and they were hoping to reschedule it.
But okay, what about Saturday?
Both. So is it both teams forfeit? How does that work? None showed up.
Yeah. Who didn't show up?
Neither.
Neither.
Oh, wow. Okay.
175 each.
Well, first of all, do we let him? I mean, are you going to try and reschedule this and then throw some money in for the centers?
Did the referee? Well, we don't know if the referee showed up.
I'm assuming he did Saturday.
I think yesterday they probably did because they.
Yeah, so fine them both $100 and let them reschedule. That's what I would.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Which teams are these?
I don't know. It's
It was a Tarpon team, and I'll look it up. Actually, Sherry, I don't know if you can tell who the opponent was.
I can. Just give me
But
one.
can you get to them, Marius, and tell them that
Yeah.
reschedule? They got to push it back, and Sherry will approve it. But
What age group?
it's $100 each for the not for the missing the game.
Right.
U15 girls, Liverpool versus Florida Coast.
Yeah, that's too bad. They're both up there too. They're both close. All right. Yeah. Well,
100 each. Okay.
Okay, got it. 2515 was a forfeit by TBU, and I sent them. They sent the form in, and they forfeited, but they never paid any money.
yeah,
And I didn't.
didn't the one guy ask you what the story was, and you told him, and he said thanks? Is that the same one or no?
No, I don't think so. But I did,
Well,
say.
look, if they don't pay the fines by next year, but whenever we're ending by next year, the teams don't come in till the fines paid.
All right, so we'll just send a reminder and.
Yeah.
Yeah, bad.
Everybody,
We have
sometimes somebody
several teams that haven't
they
paid.
could miss
So.
it. They got people that do that, so they'll tune into that.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Sherry, which age group?
2515. 1 second. It is a second. I was waiting on Got Soccer to load. U12 boys.
Okay, thank you.
Wesley Chapel versus TBU, but it was TBU that forfeited. So.
Okay.
Hey, and just so I know, sorry I'm asking questions, I just want to know, all these that pop up, like the game from Plant City was from October, do we do these at a certain time every couple months, or how does that work?
No, we normally try to deal with it at the next board meeting, but for some reason this one flew under the radar, and then the opposing team like recently sent us an email and said, hey, whatever happened, kind of thing, you know.
Oh,
so
yeah, because that's what David was asking me right now, the current president of Plant City, and I'm like, I have no idea.
Incredibly, Jessica, and we just had this thing. We just found out there was this huge fight, right? Remember, Greg? And it was in October.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there were no red cards from the match, so the game didn't stick out. And of course, with 3,500 games, we do not read every game report. Because there was no red cards at this match, we completely missed this giant brawl that went on between two teams, and all this nastiness between them, and we missed it. So we had to go back to October, really, and at least say to the clubs, geez, you got to do, you got to help us out here,
Right. No, I get it. I was just
same thing with this.
me.
I don't know how we did this stuff on occasion, though.
Gotcha. Okay, no, that's cool.
Sometimes I just I'm doing something else, and then I'll stumble across a game report, and then read
plus,
it.
Jessica, one of the other problems is not everybody fills that. Not everybody completes it. I know Sherry spent an inordinate amount of time following up games that are not reported. So you got a non-reported game. I don't know if this is one of them. But see, you don't know anything about it unless somebody emails you and says, hey, we had a
somebody brings it up. Right.
Yeah,
no
we had
problem.
A water buffalo.
Okay.
For
yeah.
Cool. No, fine with me. That's cool. I just want to know.
Yeah, but that's essentially what happens, and it's amazing to me with all of the effort we put in to tell people how to do this stuff that some stuff still gets through the cracks. And I don't blame our clerical team, because I think they're extraordinary as far as how much we do catch. 34-14, Sharon.
Okay, this one was a hot mess, but to summarize, this was Boys U11, Wesley Chapel, and Fusion. Way back when the schedule came out, Fusion rescheduled one of their games, and unknowingly, by doing that, it created a double, both games at the same day at Wesley Chapel. Yeah. And so way back when, I noticed it, and I said, what are we doing? Are you playing two games that day, or are you intending to swap home and away?
Well, they could legally do that. Am I correct in assuming that?
I think so. I think if they both agree, they can.
Yeah, there's nothing. I don't think there's anything in any rules to prevent them from doing
it. But way back in October, Fusion was like, no, we're swapping home and away. I said, okay, well, just get back to me. And sent multiple emails, and I have the email trail, throughout October, November, December. And he kept saying, yeah, I'll get back to you with the date of that reschedule. Well, it never happened. So now, fast forward, it's the day before the game, and he must have looked at the schedule, and he said, so I made the assumption, and if I remember correctly, there was even something in chat that made it sound like they were going to play both games that day, so I never followed up with him. I thought they had just decided to do that. The day before, Fusion says, no, I'm not playing two games. I refuse. And Wesley Chapel got upset because they were thinking that's what was happening as well. So long story short, they played the first game, but then the guy they left, and they never played the second game.
Were both matches scheduled against one another in the same day?
Yes. One was I don't remember.
No, I got you. I got you.
I saw 11, and then the other was 2:30 or something like that. Okay. And so Fusion, he's pretty adamant that he should be allowed to reschedule that game, and Wesley Chapel's position is that should be a forfeit on his part.
Do we have anything in chat to support that was going to be a doubleheader?
Well, I'll look real quick. I feel like there was something that led me to believe that, which is why I didn't question it like when it got close. Let me see now.
In this case, who is responsible for the match that didn't get played? Who's the titular? Who's the supposedly home team?
The home team was Wesley Chapel.
Okay, so they showed up for the second match.
Yes. Correct. And no, there's nothing in chat, but I think I have a bunch of emails about.
I have a hard time believing Fusion would drive 2 hours and not play the second game.
Well, I don't. My guess is they don't even know they had it. I mean, they didn't realize they had a second game.
Well, I'm sure somebody must have talked about it during the first game that they were going to play. We'll see you later.
The way Sherry's talking, there was never, they were talking about playing it too, and they were scheduled.
Right.
My guess is that Fusion is. It appears in my way of thinking that Fusion is liable. Correct? Am I incorrect in assuming that?
They didn't show for the second game. If it was scheduled, yeah.
It's a real mess, though, huh? Sherry, what do you think?
I kind of feel like, I don't know, there was like a lot of confusion, but I do think that Fusion knew and just kind of dropped the ball kind of thing, at the last minute. And maybe they should be responsible. But because then I'm reading one from Wesley Chapel. It says Wesley Chapel did not schedule the game. The other team canceled the Thursday prior to November 18th, which is the original game.
Here's my question. How could a game get onto Wesley Chapel fields scheduled without them scheduling it?
Because they sent like where they were swapping home and away, but then only half of the schedule change happened, basically. And then.
All right. So the first match, even though Sherry, Wesley Chapel, in order to have two games on their field scheduled,
right,
would have to go into their got soccer component, and both of them would appear.
Right. Correct. And I think
Wesley Chapel knew that they had two matches scheduled. Somebody, the scheduler must have known. Somebody in Wesley Chapel had to know, right?
Correct. They knew about it.
And they probably, do you think they figured, well, we'll play two games?
Right.
Geez, that's confusing, isn't it?
It's really confusing, and honestly, I'd even have to probably, if you wanted to know every detail, I'd have to create a little timeline for you.
I don't know. I got no idea on this.
It was a lot.
I just assume tell them to reschedule the damn thing.
Let them reschedule.
Well, that would be me. This is so confusing. If you go into Fusion and they say, look, we can't be forced to play two games in one day. That's what I'd be saying.
Right.
But someone at Wesley Chapel knew there was two games on that day. Did Fusion know and say that's ridiculous? We can't do that, and never go back to Wesley Chapel and say we got to change the one.
Yeah, I think I did, but again, this all happened like the day before.
Yeah, but I mean, but when the first game was swapped, where was the match that day? At Wesley Chapel or at Fusion?
At Wesley Chapel, I believe. And
okay.
it was.
They say, hey, we can't play here. Can we play at Fusion?
Well, yeah. See, what happened was Wesley Chapel must have said to swap the home and away. So we put that game on their field. And then Fusion was supposed to come back with moving the second game to their field, but they never did.
So reschedule the game at Wesley Chapel.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Make them play at Wesley Chapel.
I'm fine with it. I guess too confused. These guys don't know what they're doing, actually. That's the problem.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll reach out to both teams, and hopefully they'll
reschedule. Let's go.
Just let them reschedule.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. At this point is probably the most fair way to handle it.
What's 9:44? Is that the last one? Kai, how you doing, man?
That's the last one. And I can't remember. Hold on. Let me look.
That's Liverpool and Braden River where the fight broke out.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
What are they doing? I mean, what is there to do with that?
I don't know.
There's no red
Apparently-
cards. There's no red cards. You can't go back now. Merritt, am I correct in assuming that you can't go start giving red cards at this point for what happens in the parking lot? Can you?
Well, this wasn't in the parking lot. This was on the sideline. It was after the game. Yet, what I find puzzling is that the referee took down the player pass numbers of the Tarpon players who were throwing the punches. Now, if he's going to do that, and it's happening on the pitch or in the parking lot, doesn't make a difference. Red cards need to be handed out.
But he didn't.
And he didn't do that.
No, what happens in that case?
This was one that was played on the 14th
I know.
October. We never knew anything about because he didn't put any red cards in. I mean, had he gave the kids red cards that were involved in the fight, we would have jumped on that right away.
I mean, let me ask you this. Merritt, are you there? Can you hear me, Merritt?
Yeah.
When we are only able to interpret the match from our representative there, the center.
Correct.
The center comes away with a long, fairly detailed explanation, but no red cards.
Well, that's when we need to get a hold of our assigner who put that referee there and make.
But now we're dealing with it 3 months later. That's my question.
Yeah.
Retroactively give somebody red cards.
I still think it's, no matter how old it is, it's still a teaching opportunity. And and the assigner needs to know about it and know that it happened.
I have no doubt. On our end, we need some remediation. I'm talking about for the kids that are all involved in the clubs. I mean, I think, Greg, you did get a hold of the guys from Tarpon and said, we're asking you guys to get to have somebody at the match that can, but you can't, look, a field marshal is not in there to break up fights. He's not in there to separate players once they start.
I can actually elaborate. We did have a field marshal at the place. However, once the game had finished, that field marshal had walked back towards the concession stand only to turn around and find a fight going on. Right. So the field marshal was in place, but there was no time for him to do anything about it.
Yeah, that's where I have it's a difficult thing with these older kids. You walk off the field, you got something going in the parking lot. The second thing is that even if you do have a field marshal at that point, he now becomes a cop. Now he's got to go in and we're not assuming anybody's going to break up fights with 18-year-old kids. That's not part of being a field marshal, I don't think.
No. Well, I would think the field marshal would be there to be as a witness.
Correct.
And to provide names and numbers and all that stuff.
But he isn't, because again, the game is over, Merritt. He's not.
He could certainly keep the parents from coming over to the other side of the field.
If he's standing in the field at the time, if he's gone, if the game is ended and he's walking away and he's walked away, I mean, this thing actually spills out into the parking lot. Am I correct in assuming that? I mean, this is an incident.
No, the game report I saw, it just ended right there on the field.
It ended on the sideline, Paul.
Yeah, it ended over there. And Greg, to correct you, referee only has jurisdiction there on the field, So, but he should have dealt red cards to somebody.
That was my question.
Yeah.
Should he have
not on the parking lot, but
but on the field?
Yeah.
If they're still by the bench, it's still part of the game, basically.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. I didn't think I was that. Okay. Right. Red cards should have been dealt, and they weren't. So.
Again,
he probably figured he broke it up and no guts, so no foul.
If I may add something, I found out of this fight. Unfortunately, I was not at the club when that happened. But after finding out that there were no red cards, those players involved were still suspended from our club from participating for 4 games.
Oh, very good.
I don't want to tolerate fighting. Now, there's 2 sides to the story, but regardless, our players were involved. So we sat them out.
Oh, that's great. I mean, it's good. That's what I would have. I mean, I feel the same way.
There's a lot of clubs that would do the same.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's still an opportunity with our assigner and the referee to get them.
Yes, yeah, but I mean, I think the clubs and all of that, we're past the point of trying to get in the middle of that and interpreting it.
Right. Yeah.
And I think the club did the right thing in discouraging. You don't need kids like that around because it's dangerous for everybody. You know.
Well, I wish
kids, we know what can happen. I mean, it can be volatile kids, you know.
Well, because they're unfortunately he had to do something with the kids. I wish there was something he could do with whoever the parent was, because
that age group will merit them and have a parent there.
This one was not with the parent. The other one was with the parent.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying they're the ones that really need to be dealt with. Yeah, unfortunately.
No, but I think as long as the club is recognized, hey, but that happens. I mean, these things. Now, look, if we have had clubs, and we do have a club right now that has these things happen too often, too many of these things. But any particular club, any particular day, these things can break out. We had one filmed up at Mike's place, and Mike won't tolerate anything. He is like a Nazi when it comes to that. Yet all this was going on the sideline. He didn't know it was across the field, and then things are busted up. Now he got over there, but so we all know that things can happen places if it's repeated, and it's all the time at one thing. I think that's when we have to allow that, hey, we can't send teams over there anymore because it's dangerous. And we might have that, we might have a situation like that this year, but I don't know, So we're done with this, right? We'll just get to Dave. Someone will get to Dave and say, Dave, why no red cards?
This was at Liverpool, so that's that's Dave Peterson. That's in.
Yeah. I sent it to Dave and say, Dave, I just got a question about the no red cards. And maybe the guy's got a reason. But that's as far as I'd go on this.
Okay, I'll send something to Dave.
You want to give us a report from the U.S. soccer? I understand there's a lot of good changes being made.
It was a interesting thing to experience, to just kind of see behind the scenes a little bit. Well, as you probably all know, the vice president won the election, and pretty much status quo. I mean, the MLS USL group were backing the establishment guys from the beginning, whether it was Kathy Carter or Carlos.
So who got it?
The vice president, whoever, Carlos something, who was the vice president of U.S. Soccer.
Okay.
He is now president. Pretty much Sunil Gulati.
Yes, ma'am.
2.0. And the players didn't have much of a chance, but I'm not surprised because seeing this in person, the U.S. Soccer AGM is nothing different than the FYSA AGM. No disrespect to the people that are volunteering or working in these fields, but the people voting on these situations are like no different than FYSA, where a lot of these people are volunteers. They've never played the game. They've joined it in some fashion through their kids playing and enjoying the club. I mean, the 50 states represented, the state associations, our board members are not like anything different than FYSA. board members of the amateur council side. I mean, it's just the U.S. Soccer AGM is just same as FYSA AGM, just on a higher level. And it is all about, just like with FYSA, it's about administration and business first. The game is second. And a soccer guy like Eric Ronaldo, Hope Solo, Cal Martino, they're viewed as a threat, and they're viewed because they're looking at it from a different point of view and talking about the game first. And a lot of people that are voting don't know that side, or don't want to know that side. They just keeping just like the FYSA board meeting I attended. It was all administrative and business first. The game is second. So that the establishment guys won. I mean, the guy that won openly admitted he's never run a youth club. He's never. I mean, again, so it's unfortunate. I think the game is going backwards, and they even said in their report that youth soccer numbers across the board nationwide
how did you get
down 25%? Is down 25%. And
how did you get that information? Was that just readily available, or is that what people were saying?
I did not have a handbook. This was a the secretary, or it was Sunil Gulati himself during his speech. His speech said it was down 25% across the board.
But you know that what he didn't mention is revenues are up.
Actually, no. Actually, the U.S. Soccer had a $13 million deficit.
No. Who cares about U.S. Soccer? All the revenues up for all the youth soccer clubs.
No, I mean that that could be, but so I mean, so they're down 25%.
Yeah, that's
and
an incredible number, isn't it?
So I mean, so yeah, there are problems, and I just don't know.
I don't think they think they have a problem.
They do. I mean, maybe not on the inside, but on the outside, Sunil Gulati, Carlos, they all talked about we have issues, and that.
Yeah, but
that
didn't bring any of them up.
You know, but
did they think that they were the problem?
Right? I at the end of the day, I don't know how much their concern is on the grassroots, on youth soccer, because the money is with MLS and Soccer United marketing. I mean, that has nothing to do with youth soccer. I don't know if they're overly concerned about, Sunil Gulati is good friends with Don Garber, and Soccer United marketing is all tied in. That group's tied in with MLS, with U.S. Soccer.
I got you. I don't think they're a good group to really to help. They're not analyzing it because it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah. So, but anyway, I mean, it was interesting to see between rounds there's a 15 minutes between voting. You would see the groups getting together and seeing who's going to drop out of the race and who they can take some votes from. It was very interesting to see. And
well, that's how they do. They do the Pope the same way. If you didn't know.
So it was a great experience just to be part of. But
I'm glad you went. That's terrific.
Well, but I just don't.
You ran across some of our FYSA guys there. They must have thought they seen a ghost. Dale
Burke was very surprised to see me there. So.
What are you doing here? Whoa. I don't know. I got lost. Isn't this little?
But so we'll see. I mean, there's definitely, if you think there is tension and people not liking each other in the FYSA and our ranks, I mean, it's the same thing in U.S. soccer. It's pretty much divided between the establishment and non-establishment and youth clubs and amateur side and MLS and USL. And so.
Well, let me ask you something that now that, I mean, this Miami thing, some of the other stuff you tweeted this month, this is past what we need for the good of the game, I guess. It appears as if Miami is set. That looks bright, right? You know,
Yeah, no, the Miami group
it's getting all kinds of guys attracted to it now, millionaires and billionaires and stuff.
Oh no, the MLS in Miami, that's a done deal. Yeah.
So that eliminates Tampa entirely.
Oh, I don't think MLS is not coming to Tampa. It was never coming to Tampa.
No, I know, but I mean now it's like you can't even lie about it at this point.
Yeah, they're not going to put a third team in Florida and a fourth team overall in the Southeast. So that ship has sailed. But that was never. I mean, the owner of the Rowdies is has federal lawsuits and stuff like that. I don't see that.
So what happens?
That's a whole other story.
All right. Well, listen, you guys want to adjourn, or you want to hang on for another hour?
I think we did that last time. We hung around for an hour last time.
Yeah. All right. Well, unless there's something else, I'll get to Sean. If you will, Jessica, if you will follow up with Renee and see exactly what you need, so we're good to go, and then we'll pick a date. She had a couple in that month that she thought would work.
Okay, sounds good.
I did find out the Hillsborough County kids are off from the 12th to the 19th in March. That was another piece of information I did get. I think I got that back to her.
Okay.
Hey, Jessica, hang on for a minute, okay?
But I'd like to try and close that one way or the other this week by the end of the week, so we at least got a plan.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good.
I appreciate you getting that for us too.
Yeah, no problem. My pleasure.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. We're all set then?
I think. Is there anything else, Sherry, Kai, anybody else?
No. Not that old, no.
All right. Well,
I move that we close the executive meeting.
Yeah.
All right.
Someone second that, please.
I'll second it.
Yeah, Kai, jump in there, Kai.
Yeah, I'll second the.
All in favor? Aye.
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 See y'all.
All right.
All right. Hey, Jessica.
Yes.
Okay. Let me assume a few things and tell me if I'm wrong. You have a pull-down screen that can be used for a projector, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and we've got one.
Is there a PA system available there that you can connect to?
That's what I was finding out. From what I assume, yes, because they hold a lot of events there too.
Okay.
I sent the email once Paul asked me to my city guy, so he's going to let me know probably early in the morning tomorrow.
Okay. Do you have a projector to be able to project from a laptop onto the big screen?
I don't know if the building does, but I can ask. I don't personally.
We do, but ask the facility if they have a projector or they can connect a laptop to it so they can project onto the screen.
Was the projector, Greg, would interface with her computer okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know. Do they need an actual projector though, Greg? Because I know when I've done presentations and stuff in the past, I just have to connect USB and then it projects it. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. What they'll need is she has a laptop and she has a USB connection that she plugged into the our projector that we have, and it worked fine.
Okay. All right. I'll see what's
Jessica,
available.
We have a huge screen.
Yeah,
we've got 9 feet across or something. It's enormous.
Yeah. So 8 foot by 8 foot.
If you need one, it's there. It's the sound system to interface with her computer that I don't know.
Right. She just needs to be able to. I know what they're talking about. It's a USB that you connect to the projector. And I know usually they do have them, but I'll verify with that. Yep.
Well, it's a USB from the sound system to the projector.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, find out. Thank you.
I will. All right. Have a good night.
Cool. You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, folks. And that should do it. I gotta figure out how to stop. Okay, stop recording. All right, we'll talk to y'all later.
Yeah. Look at this thing.